just found the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Here, you'll discover the people and places that make Montana like no other place in the world. If you love to fish, hunt, or just enjoy creating your own adventure in the outdoors, you have come to the right place. The Montana Outdoor Podcast is brought to you by Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, home of Boss Snowplows and Accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. Go to rmtte.com and see everything they have waiting for you online, or just come by 5680 Expressway in Missoula, and by Superior Hardwoods of Montana, delivering the highest quality lumber, paneling, flooring, and reclaimed wood products anywhere in North America. Let them guide you through the woods at their showroom in Missoula on Highway 93 South or at superior-hardwoods.com. Now, let's go discover Montana's great outdoors with your host, Downrigger Dale. Have a great show, buddy. Can't wait to hear it.
Thanks a lot, Roger. And as Roger just said, I am Downrigger Dale with the Montana Outdoor Podcast. So good to have all of you along again, as we always do. We drop these every Saturday, but they're up there forever. You can find them anytime you want on YouTube, on about 26 other sites around, and of course our favorite site, montanooutdoor.com. So be sure and join us as often as you can. Go through some quick reminders for you. One, I want to welcome all our active military watching all around the world. We are so proud and honored that you guys and gals, as you're serving all around the world, that you take a little time to watch us. That is a big honor. So thank you. And I hope this podcast brings you a little home wherever you are. And thank you for your service. Also want to thank our veterans. Montana has a lot of veterans, and we just can't thank them enough for their service and everything they've done. As a proud dad of a veteran, I very much am honored to have you on board. Now, another thing that I always like to remind people, it helps us out a ton. If you would subscribe to the podcast and like it and share it. I know all that sounds weird, but it actually is something that helps us a lot with YouTube and other places, so we get to keep bringing these to you. So if you would do that, we'd love it. Now, I want to continue our series about the hunting forecast across the great state of Montana. There's 7 hunting regions in Montana, and I have been interviewing wildlife managers and others from every region that I can get my hands on, and I've covered a ton of them. So you guys have already seen Region 6, you've seen Region 1, you've seen Region 2, Region 3 will be coming out here shortly. And now we're on to Region 5, and wildlife manager Matt Ladd is with us. And Matt, welcome to the program. So good to have you along with us, and thanks for taking some time to join us here. I know this is a busy time of year for you.
Yeah, thanks, Dale. Glad to do it. And this is a great opportunity for us to kind of reach out to folks and get some information out to folks we don't necessarily reach. So appreciate you having us on.
Yeah, we have folks all around the world, and of course, all over Montana. If you can speak up a little bit louder, Matt, that would be great too. Now, we're going to start off by, I think people have met you before, but our audience has grown massive. We are now in the top 15% in the nation for podcasts, which is just amazing. But thank you. I guess a lot of people outside of Montana really enjoy watching what we have and what we do, because it's pretty rare. We're pretty lucky. So welcome from all of you outside of Montana. And of course, welcome to all of our great residents here. I know you guys and gals are all getting ready for hunting season, which is about to get underway. Some of the hunting seasons are already underway. We'll find out how antelope is going and a few other things too. But if you could, Matt, maybe tell us a bit about yourself, where you're from originally, why you got into this crazy wildlife business, and what you do for the FWP.
Yeah, sure, Dale. So I know it'll be a little bit redundant for some of your listeners, because we kind of went through some of this last year as well. But my parents, so my dad was a large animal veterinarian, and he went to vet school in Louisiana at LSU down Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I was actually born there when Dad was in grad school and vet school down there.
Oh, okay.
So, they had moved down so he could do that, and he finished that. And, but I was, for a period of time there, I was a kid in the woods in Louisiana, and it's just a different place. There's just a ton of vegetation and fauna and poisonous things there.
Yeah.
And,
But
as a
Louisiana is a great wildlife state and a great hunting state, especially birds. Boy, I had the honor of getting to hunt birds there one time and absolutely loved it.
Yeah, it's a neat place. It's called Sportsman's Paradise, and for good reason. But the small game, the squirrels, the rabbits, quail, doves, I mean, you name it. And then most of the big game is obviously whitetail deer, and there's turkeys there and stuff. But anyway, had kind of the run of a place, so I really became kind of a real outdoor enthusiast as a very young kid. And Dad kind of finished up school there, and we moved back to Montana. And then Mom and Dad ended up starting a vet practice in Stevensville, Montana.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my introduction to Western, the Western outdoors there. And I'll never forget, we were in a U-Haul truck, and we were pulling up to the new place they bought, and a bunch of whitetails sprang out of the yard, so I was right at home.
Yeah.
Instantly.
I'm gonna like this place.
Great. Yeah. I just thought, man, this is going to work out great. And it did.
Mm.
And I was, kind of surrounded by the great outdoors my whole life. And then, working for my dad, helping him with the vet business as a large animal vet and stuff. It was just a lot of landowner contact, a lot of experience with agriculture and ranchers and farmers and stuff. But anyway, I finished high school in Stevensville, and first year of college, I went to Montana State. I went there for a year, and then I got an opportunity to go to the University of Minnesota, and I kind of jumped on that.
Yeah.
Was just kind of something new. Go experience another outdoor mecca of the United States, really, with all the water. And I ended up finishing a fisheries and wildlife degree out in Minnesota, and enjoyed a lot of the outdoor adventure opportunities that they had in Minnesota as well, but then moved back to northeastern Montana after I finished my degree. And when I got done with my degree in the early 90s, it was really difficult to find employment in the type of work that I do now. And it's gotten easier, but then it was super competitive, and there just weren't that many jobs, and people, once they got a job, they stayed in it,
Yeah.
and they stayed there until they retired. And anyway, so I ended up working in ag business in Northeast Montana, and I worked for Farmers Elevator, but it was a division of Cenex Harvest States, or CHS, as it's now known today. Mm-hmm. And I bought and sold grain. We had a ag retail business. We sold chemical feed to ranchers, and just a whole lot of ag products. And that was a really good experience, and just a lot of really great people up there that I worked with and got to know over the years. But as I did that for about 9 years, and then I just had always had a passion and a desire to work for Montana Fish, Wildlife, and Parks. And I applied to be a game warden in 2005, actually, and then ended up getting hired in 2006. And I served as a game warden for the agency for about 15 and a half years. And in that, I was a game warden. I was also an investigator and a game warden sergeant for a bit. And then, about 4 years ago, I guess, almost 5 years ago, I got an opportunity to apply for the wildlife manager job here in Region 5. And I'd been in Region 5 pretty much my whole career. So fortunately for me, I fit what they were looking for, and I got that position, and here I am today. And like I said, I've been working at that between 4 and 5 years now. So that's kind of my back.
Was it hard to shift gears from being in the law enforcement side to the animal management side?
Yeah, a little bit. I had worked quite a bit with the biologist and the wildlife manager at the time here while I was in enforcement. And a big part of it, Downrigger, was just being in the same region for so long. you just become really familiar with what's going on in the region. So the science pieces, the real, intricate science pieces, the biologists really helped me out a lot with those pieces. So they kind of had that covered, and I could kind of help guide the rest of it, and it worked out good. But it was quite a transition. It's a completely different job, as you would imagine.
Yeah. Yeah, well, you've seen and done it all, or a lot of it anyway. Let's talk a bit about Region 5 itself and what its size is, terrain like, and maybe give us a little idea of how much is public and private land for access.
Yeah, sure. So Region 5 sits right pretty much dead center of south central Montana. So um, if you had a bookend at Miles City and a bookend at Bozeman, we're kind of sandwiched right in between there, maybe more like Forsyth than Miles City, but it's 150, basically about 150 miles wide from Springdale, or the Crazy Mountain Divide on the west side. If you extend over about 150 miles to the east to the Bighorn River, that'd be our east boundary. And then from the north end, we have a little bit that goes up as far as Winnett, but really, if you looked at the Snowy Mountain Divide, the Big Snowy and the Little Snowy Mountains, that divide boundary is kind of our north boundary. And then we extend, again, about another 150 miles south to the Wyoming border. So if you squared it all and shaped it, it would be about a 150 by 150 square. So it's a pretty good sized cube.
Yeah. There. Yeah, that's is it one of the bigger regions in the state, or is it the biggest?
No, Region 7 is probably Region 7's probably the biggest. It's a huge, it's that huge corner of southeast Montana. And Region 6 is really big too. It's not, it's not as tall, but it's really wide. Region 6 is. So Region 3 is also huge. But yeah, I would say we might even be, we're probably about, I'm guessing, but we're probably about the fourth in size.
Oh, okay. Okay. But, as far as private land and public land, how much out there?
Yeah. So, our public land, we're about 19% roughly public land in the region, and about 61%.
61. Okay.
About 61% private. Then we have a portion that's a Crow Indian Reservation, which is about 20%.
Oh yeah.
And then about 0.14% of our area is water. So we are a fairly water rich region.
Yep.
Oh.
So as far as having that much private land, are the landowners pretty cooperative? Are you getting good participation in block management and that sort of stuff?
We do. We have about 109 block management areas this year, and of that, there's 143 actual cooperators. Some of those are aggregate block management areas, meaning that there's several people that actually participate to make one BMA. And total acreage in that, we're over 500,000 acres in block management.
Okay.
So
yeah, you got
I tell you, Dale, that is a huge piece of where people get to go hunting, and it's we're very thankful to have those folks and that they participate in that program.
Well, that's good. That means the hunters are also treating the landowners well too, if they're sticking with it and you're growing like that. That's awesome. Well, as far as looking at different opportunities out there, one of the things that I always want to point our listeners to is the 2025 hunt forecast that the FWP put out. And that forecast you can find on the FWP site, but I am going to make it even a little easier for all of you. And that for Region 5 here, if you just go to the podcast description, and you will see down there's a little area in the description. Like if you're looking on Facebook, you'll have to expand it by hitting more. But if you go to that, you'll find the link straight away to Region 5, and then you can look at that and read it. I'm also going to put the link in for the whole state of Montana's upland game bird forecast as well. And I think that's a very helpful thing. And then we like to kind of expand a little bit more on that and just, get an idea of what's out there and what folks can get after. So as far as hunting goes, what kind of data, if you have it, do you have as far as the most harvested species in Region 5? Do you guys keep track of that at all, or rough?
We do keep track of that, especially for big game, Dale, but really probably our most harvested species is not big game. It's gonna be Canada geese.
Oh, okay.
And we Region 5 is a really diverse region as far as landscapes and stuff. And what we do have a lot of is river bottom and irrigated fields along river bottom corridors. And with that, you get, of course, a lot of geese in those fields and whatnot. And we have some very avid waterfowl hunters in the region, and then many that travel to the region and hunt waterfowl. So our field hunting for geese, and actually on the river hunting for geese, on the water hunting for geese, is really popular. And, with a 5 per day limit, guys are killing a lot of Canada geese annually. We do have some snow geese that come through. That opportunity is kind of hit or miss. Guys get into them at times when they catch them in the migrating pattern, but for the most part, Canada geese.
I'm trying to picture it there. You're in which flyway? Are you the central?
That's the central. Yeah, we're in the central flyway here. Yeah. And then we have both zones. The central flyway is in, there's a zone 1 and zone 2, and we have both portions of that, are both zones in the region here.
Yeah. Now they changed that regulation a little bit, didn't they? As far as what you can do for zone 2 and 1 and all that. Talk about that.
Right. Yeah. So if you're waterfowl hunting in Region 5, make sure that you read those waterfowl regs real closely. I could sit here and go into the details of it, but a person needs to dig in there and read the zone 1 and zone 2 specific regs, because what they have done over the years is we've tried to get the season to go a little bit later so guys can take a little bit better advantage of the migration period. And in doing that, the federal regulation, we have to abide by the federal regulation, and the federal regulation only allows for so many days of hunting. So what they've done in portions of the region in those different zones is split that season, meaning stopped it for a period of time so we could put more days on the tail end of the season to allow for guys to maybe touch the end of that migration or hit that migration more and have better success hunting waterfowl.
Now I understand that now. That makes some sense. Yeah, because I got a few emails from people saying, well, why are they stopping it and starting it? What's that all about? And the different regions, but that makes sense. So it really gives everyone a little more opportunities as the season goes along. Now, next year, since we're on the topic of waterfowl right now, isn't it next year that they're going to do the deal where the in-state hunters will get a little more time to hunt before the out-of-state hunters begin?
Right. There's a little bit of a period there where the out-of-state hunters won't get to start quite as soon as the residents will, and the residents will kind of have a first shot go at it for a bit. So I think that's going to be pretty popular, with, some of our local folks and stuff, and they just don't feel like they kind of are, being this is their home, they'll just feel a little more vested in what we got going on.
Sure. And I think that's fair too. I mean, we're the ones that, pay all the taxes, do all the stuff and that. And of course, I know you out of state hunters, you do pay a higher license fee and that, and we do appreciate that. But you got to let the residents have a little time too. Now on private ground though, they can do just whenever though, right? As far as the season goes, or does that apply? I thought it didn't apply to private ground.
Boy, Dale, I don't know. You caught me a little flat-footed with that. I'd have to look at that a little closer. It hasn't gone into effect yet, so I kind of wait until everything settles before before I try to dedicate it to memory.
You
because it
never
doesn't stick in
know.
here very good.
It can change too. But yeah, next year, everyone listening and watching here for sure will give you plenty of time and heads up on all that. But a lot of you kind of asked for that. In fact, a great deal of hunters asked for that. So that right there, is a good indication of why you should definitely give your input when FWP and the commission is looking for public input, because it does make a difference. That whole thing came about because hunters wanted that. So just a point there. So we've got a really good region for waterfowl. As far as the type of hunters, then you would say that those would probably, as a whole, you probably see more bird hunters than big game hunters. Do you think?
Dale, I wouldn't say that.
Really? Okay.
Region 5 is just a really diverse landscape. And I mean, I can talk a little bit about that. Basically, the north boundary of the region, the west boundary of the region, and the south boundary of the region, for the most part, are mountains. And, the Beartooth's on the south, the Crazy Mountains are on the west side. And then we have the Big Snowy and Little Snowy Mountain Complex on the north. So kind of saddled in the middle of that is a lot of, prairie land. On the eastern part is sagebrush and kind of sagebrush grasslands with ponderosa mix. And then, of course, we have the Yellowstone River, the Clarks Fork River, the Stillwater, the Boulder Rivers, and the Bighorn River flowing through the region as well. So with that diverse landscape, we have really diverse hunting opportunities. And our hunters in this region, many of them they do a little bit of all.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're just kind of, they've really adapted to the region and the recreational opportunities with hunting here. And, I know a lot of hunters that, they waterfowl hunt, they upland game bird hunt, they deer hunt, they antelope hunt, they elk hunt, they do a little bit of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
So I would really have to say that we have kind of a really diverse region, but we also have diverse opportunity for hunting, and people just really take advantage of just about everything.
Yeah, I was talking with Warren Hansen in Region 3 the other day, and he said, we were awful lucky, because how many people get to say, today I think I'm going to go out and go after some antelope, maybe pick up a mule deer or two, and then do a little bird hunting. And Region 5, I think, is a great example of that. You really can do that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Let's talk a bit about some of the opportunities. We'll start with elk. The bull elk tends to be the one that steals all the press. So let's start there. What is your elk herds looking like, and what do you see for elk hunting this year on Region 5 for the general season?
Yeah, Dale, we have really robust elk populations in the region, and we have elk pretty much scattered about the region. Now, our real concentrated areas of elk are like the Snowies complex. I know you've heard that the big Snowies and the little Snowies have a lot of elk. And a portion of the Snowies, of course, is in Region 4, but that mountain range complex right there has about 10,000 elk.
Wow.
And that's grown a lot over the years. Now, access in a lot of it is a little bit limited. There is some Forest Service and stuff, but a lot of those elk are kind of on the peripheral, like elk are in Montana this day and age. We used to have a lot of elk on public lands, and elk have kind of changed. A lot of them are down on private lands where they don't get bothered too much, and they kind of stay there. Some of the migrations have changed and whatnot. We kind of experience the same thing here in Region 5. So the Snowies is a concentration area for elk. The east side of the Crazies, there's a lot of elk there. We have elk along the foothills and along the Beartooth front to the south. The Pryors don't really have many elk in them. There's a handful in the Pryors, but that's not an elk hunting destination. So don't go to the Pryors thinking you're going to hunt elk there and do well. But even our prairie lands, our grassland prairies, and our ag lands, kind of in the center of the region and the eastern part of the region, have elk. The Bull Mountains, for example, around Roundup, they have a ton of elk there. And the big thing is just getting access. And I tell guys, hey, get out there, ask for permission early, develop good, relationships with landowners. Maybe go out and help them fix fence or whatever it is. But if you really want access to elk, you got to have good relations with with some landowners that have elk on their property. And I mean, you can kill elk on public land, and you certainly can kill elk on the block management areas that we have, and many people do. But yeah, big bull elk, the Snowies is the place. I mean, that's where and the Bull Mountains. But like I said, access in those areas can be challenging to get.
But that's a really good point. And one of the things and I've been doing it pretty much in every one of these podcasts, is just reminding people, because and as a warden, you probably saw this time or two yourself, where someone will shoot an elk on public land, but it doesn't go down. It crosses into private land, and they think, well, since I shot it, that's my elk, so I can go get that. You still have to have permission to get the elk, right?
That is correct, Dale. And, as a warden, it was something that I dealt with a fair amount. And, many landowners were pretty good about, those things happen. We realize that. Just, a lot of it is, how do you want to be treated? Treat people the way you want to be treated, with courtesy and respect. And a lot of those landowners just want, hey, come ask me permission. And it's kind of funny. A lot of times that landowner drive their own pickup out there and help them collect the elk and get it loaded up and save the hunter quite a lot of work of packing it out or whatever, So there's times when you get somebody that just doesn't, they've had a lot of bad experiences and they just don't allow it. But most landowners are not going to want that animal to waste out there, and they'll let people get it.
Yeah.
But you have to have permission to do it, and that's
there's
the big thing.
Nothing better than hearing that wonderful sound of the ranch owner saying, hop in with me, we'll drive on out there. But I grew up on a cattle ranch in western Montana, and Dad, he used to be very open to letting people hunt, and then one of his bulls got shot and killed, and that was the end of it. But you were talking about how elk have kind of changed, and we really were seeing it towards the late 70s, where these elk in that area just decided, okay, it's hunting season, so we're heading on over. We were called the Little Beaver Creek Ranch, and we're heading over there, and man, they would just destroy all our hay. You work for your butt off all summer to put that hay up, and poof, they'll just go through it. So he had to change his tune a little. He was still very, he didn't like letting people have the access. So what he did was, everyone that worked on the ranch, of course, could hunt there, but they could bring 2 guests. And so that was because he knew we got to thin them out. But yeah, so again, what a lot of people ended up doing with Dad was they said, well, hey, so if I work there, I can get it. Well, how about I help you with this or that? And so it worked. So just an idea, gang. So look for that. Any major regulation changes that folks ought to be aware of for Region 5 for elk?
Dale, right now we're actually in the biennial season setting process this year for next year's regulations. So our regulation changes, about 5 years ago, we went through quite a process of change. Most people who've hunted in the region should be pretty used to what those regulations are by now, no matter what. And I mean, this is the warden coming out in me is like, read the regs is what I tell people every year. There might be something minor that's changed, but for elk here in the region from last year, this year, very little, if anything, is changed as I recall. But like I said, especially read the regulations for the district that you're going to go hunting in. And it takes seconds to get that done, Dale. Yeah. And I can't emphasize that. As a warden, listen, I did not like writing tickets to people that made simple mistakes, because they didn't read the regs. We were after more of the people that were really doing bad stuff. And we don't want to beat up. We didn't want to beat up on the good people that were just, didn't figure it out, So.
Yeah. What I have been suggesting, and I have it in the podcast description, is a digital copy of the regulations. You can download that. I really encourage you to do it, because then it's on your phone. So if you're out of cell service, you can still get it and you can look at it. And so any quick little answers you want, boom, it's right there. The other thing I like about the digital copy is you can do word searches in that and find, you can dig right to where you want to be. So anyway, just an idea out there, folks. So just go to the podcast description. You can download that digital copy and get it. We're going to take a quick break here. And then when we come back, let's talk a bit about mule deer in Region 5 and see what kind of opportunities we have there. We'll do that right after this. I want to take a minute to thank Superior Hardwoods of Montana for their support of this podcast. It is what allows us to bring you the latest from Montana's great outdoors, with very few interruptions, by the way. That said, there is another reason we are lucky to have Superior Hardwoods of Montana on board. They are an amazing business that can offer all of you some of the most incredible wood products you have ever seen. Plus, Superior Hardwoods of Montana is still a place that actually cares about and appreciates their customers, the same way we appreciate you, our viewers and listeners. They offer you something original and totally unique, like their 11 acres of wood wall paneling, flooring, trim, beams, slabs, well, you name it. Every single piece has a story behind it. Wood from old barns, historic homesteads, even historic factories. And that amazing wood can be part of your story too. Right there in your home can be a piece of American history, brought back to life, custom milled and refinished to your specifications. So it not only tells its original story, but also speaks to who you are and how special your home is. Superior Hardwoods also has exotic woods, live edge slabs, pre-finished and unfinished flooring too, all in stock and ready to go. Need help picking out the right material? Just ask. Their team has been doing this since 1977. They know how to guide you through the woods. Swing into their beautiful showroom at 5120 Highway 93 South in Missoula, or you can just check them out online at superior-hardwoods.com. That's Superior Hardwoods of Montana, local, knowledgeable, family run, and ready to help you build something that lasts. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. Superior Hardwoods of Montana. Go see him. Back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast, Matt Ladd is my guest. We're talking about Region 5 and what the hunting's going to look like for you as we are very close to the start of hunting season. We've talked about elk. I'm going to look in the snowies for those bad boys and hopefully find some good ones, which I do want to remind you, if you do get a nice elk, shoot me an email, send me a picture if you want, and we'll put it on montanooutdoor.com. We love to see what our listeners are doing out there and how they did it and stuff. So let us know. Next, mule deer. What is the mule deer opportunities looking like for Region 5, Matt?
You know, Dale, mule deer across the state are kind of suffering. I think, most folks kind of know that right now. If you look at our trends for mule deer over the last 20 years in most of our districts, we've seen a kind of a slow, steady decline. It's unfortunate, but that's just kind of what we're seeing. Some of it couple of local biologists here in the region have been doing quite a bit of research and trying to correlate kind of some weather events. For example, like drought, a summer of drought followed by severe winter. And what they've kind of found is that we're having lower fawn recruitment that next spring. We aren't seeing the fawn numbers. Fawn survivability, meaning they actually made it through the winter and survived. And then they believe a lot of that's because if you have a drought year, they're not getting that, kind of that food salad that they need off the landscape. That stuff's just not available to them. So they go into the fall with fairly low body weights, and they really need a much higher body weight to survive severe winter conditions. So then if that drought year is followed by kind of a either severe cold or severe snow depth, we're just losing a ton of them in those periods. And so that's one thing that we think's going on. We have a little bit of disease stuff. People may think that CWD is killing a lot more of them than it really probably is. CWD is a big challenge.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. And that's chronic wasting disease is what I'm talking about there. But, our prevalence of CWD in the population in most of our areas is very, very low, like 3% or under. So if you only have a prevalence of 3%, you're not losing that many deer to that disease. EHD, which we had some of this year, it generally affects whitetails more, and that's hemorrhagic disease. And then it's also very closely related to the blue tongue disease that many people know about or hear about. And a lot of people refer to them as the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And essentially they kind of have the same, they're both viral. They're both spread by a little midge. We kind of feel like some of that, well, definitely. I mean, there's times when that really impacts whitetails, especially, but it can impact mule deer as well.
Mm.
So, kind of some habitat changes. And honestly, Dale, we're having a real hard time putting our finger on one specific thing that's causing this mule deer decline. Now, with that said, there is decent mule deer hunting opportunity in the region. But if you looked at like our harvest data over the years, we're harvesting about half of what we harvested 20 years ago.
Wow, half.
Half. So, we used to harvest like say around 2004, and I just pulled like numbers from 2004 because the last harvest numbers we have are from 24. So 20 years back in 2004, we were harvesting roughly around 9,000 mule deer, and that's bucks and does total. That's a total mule deer harvest in the region. And now, we're 4,000 to 4,500 annual harvest. So, we can't put our finger on one specific thing that's affecting mule deer. I think it's a lot of different things that are affecting mule deer. And actually in reality, harvest probably is not, a very big factor. And a lot of people have kind of shied away from hunting mule deer because they hear that mule deer aren't doing good. So they'll kind of transition to another species.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more people are trying to harvest and hunt elk now and whitetails as well. So
yeah, the EHD and the CWD are definite head scratchers. I did a podcast a while back with the biology department at the University of Montana, and that's one of the things they're working on is just trying to figure out more and understand a little better as far as, like you were kind of pointing out, the contributing causes of it. And they're even doing a little research on looking at genes and maybe some possible ways of finding a way to tackle it that way from a hereditary standpoint. It was a really interesting discussion, way over my head in a lot of areas, but I know there's a lot of places, I'm sure Montana State is working on it as well. And that hopefully one day we're going to get to a point where we've got it figured out. But until then, as far as any of those diseases go in your check stations, do you have any mandatory sampling going on at all in Region 5?
We don't have mandatory sampling for CWD, but I tell you what, Downrigger, we are getting a lot of people that are bringing the samples in, and we really encourage people to do that. It's not recommended that you eat a deer that has CWD or an elk or, anything that has CWD. There's no known transmission of CWD from an ungulate, meaning a deer or elk, to a human. But, like you, I would hate to be the first one that it happened to.
Yeah, risk it.
Yeah, I'm gonna just believe what a doctor tells me. If it's not a good idea, I'm not gonna do it. But we're getting a lot of people that are bringing those samples in, and we really encourage to bring them in. And I know you wanted to talk a little bit about check stations later in the podcast, and I can cover that. The places where people can bring them here in the region and get them tested, and the testing's free, and it helps. Well, as a hunter, that's one way that folks can really help.
Gives you guys a
game
picture of what's going on around there. As far as the main hunting districts where we might find muleys, where would be good places to go?
Every one of our districts has mule deer. Now, along the Beartooth front, we had some pretty severe winters and some late spring snowfalls over the last few years. Last year wasn't too bad. We had a spring snowfall. It might have been that same year that Wyoming. Do you remember when Wyoming lost like 50% of their deer herds and antelope and stuff? It was just awful. It was probably that year we had a late spring, and it kind of hammered our mule deer along the Beartooth front. But the central portion of the region is a lot of that's ag ground. Deer generally tend to do better there. Our recent counts are fairly stable this year, meaning that we haven't really gained or lost much. The very eastern portion of the region, it'd be hunting district 590, for example. That's kind of an area that we actually had pretty decent counts for mule deer this year. A count is one thing. Does it give you the overall picture? It's an estimate. Right. Is what it is. It's what it gives you. But that's kind of an area in that sagebrush, ponderosa grassland area of the region. And that's a place where we're seeing mule deer do fairly good. Along the snowies there, kind of along these mountain fronts, I'm not going to say they really dipped this year, but at best they're kind of stable, and haven't rebounded. And like I was saying earlier, we've just kind of seen a steady decline, and we're well below long-term average in most of our districts across the region. But you can find mule deer. The Priors, our southern districts, there's mule deer around, people are going to find mule deer, and we've adjusted. We hardly have any B tags, antlerless tags for mule deer. There's very few in the region. I think we might have 1,100 total, but when you consider the size of the region, and a lot of those tags are in place to help landowners who are experiencing game damage, meaning deer that are coming in and eating your haystacks like your dad was experiencing, and stuff. So that's kind of why a lot of those tags are in place. But yeah, we're not harvesting a ton, but there is opportunity here. It's not the go-to location for mule deer.
All right. Well, while we're on the topic of deer, let's talk whitetail. What are whitetails looking like in Region 5?
Well, from our counts, they were pretty stable, and we thought they were doing pretty good. We did have some areas that were starting to pick up a little bit. Along the Muscle Shell over the last 2 years, we kind of had a real decline along the Muscle Shell, and we believe that was some EHD events from years past, and it's kind of some of the same events that really hammered our antelope numbers years ago. And we were kind of starting to see a little bit of an increase along the Muscle Shell. And we saw that again, whitetails overall across the region are fairly stable, or they were from our counts. Now, I will say we did have some EHD, hemorrhagic disease. That's a virus. And then the blue tongue virus in the region this year, this late in August and in September. And along the Bighorn, for example, actually on the Crow Reservation, they saw quite a few whitetails. We lost a bunch there. Granted, that isn't the place where, just anybody can hunt. That's only for enrolled members can hunt there. But north on the Bighorn, north of the Hardin, for example, along the Bighorn River, we also had some EHD and blue tongue, we believe, there, because people were reporting that they were seeing dead deer along the river in the fields. We tested some around Billings. We were having, dead deer show up around Billings along the Yellowstone, and they did come back positive. We actually had a couple of deer come back positive for both blue tongue and EHD.
Wow. Which what a way to go.
Oh yeah, there's just no escaping that. But overall, we didn't get hammered with mortality like some areas did around the state. I think Region 6 kind of had quite a bit from what I'm hearing. And it's been kind of spotty this year, and a lot of that's due to this long extended late, warm weather that we had through September. And that's when that disease kind of takes off. So overall, the river bottom corridors, good whitetail habitat. It's going to have whitetails. Most of the Yellowstone still is fine. The Boulder River, the Stillwater rivers, we have, the Clarks Fork River, all those river bottom habitats where whitetails like to hang out near ag fields and have good cover are still going to have, we're going to have decent numbers for folks who go harvest deer.
Yeah. Any regulation changes that we need to be aware of that might be unusual that folks may have missed as far as for both muleys and whitetail? Anything changed dramatically at all?
No, we haven't had. We've been pretty steady on our mule deer regulations and whitetail regulations from last year to this year. No real changes there. Now, I will say this, and I'll put in a little bit of a plug for it here. We're in biennial season setting now. There are a few things that we're going to propose to change in the regulations. They're pretty minor for elk. We're proposing to extend a youth opportunity for mule deer so that youth can go out and harvest a either sex mule deer on a general license. It just kind of gives those youth an opportunity if they're out and they're struggling to find a buck or something, they can harvest a doe. Our harvest on that youth opportunity in the districts that we've had it open for several years has actually been fairly low. We don't harvest that many antlerless mule deer up with that opportunity, but we're looking. That is a proposal that we have going into the regulations for next year, is to allow youth to harvest a antlerless mule deer on a general license in any of our hunting districts here. So
I like that. The more the young ones can harvest an animal, they find that success, and then they start getting into it as a hunter, because we don't want to lose that heritage here in our state. So I'm glad give the young ones a little extra opportunity.
We don't want them just to go out and get cold and wet and not enjoy it.
Right. So, yeah. Gotta have something to motivate them. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. As far as pronghorn go, I know like region 6 and 7, they had a massive increase in pronghorn. I think when I was talking with up in region 6, what were they saying? Over 40% increase over last year. So that was a big number that they posted. Yeah. What's pronghorn looking like for region 5?
Again, it's kind of funny. Region 7 too actually kind of, I think, doubled their pronghorn in the south of the south of the interstate. They split the kind of the pronghorn you either put in for south of the interstate or north of the interstate now. But we had some districts that had just over west. We had some districts that had just slight increases, and then we had some that just had slight decreases. Now, with that said, overall though, we didn't lose. Overall we didn't lose. Again, we were really stable with our pronghorn numbers. People that have drawn tags they're going to be able to go out and find pronghorns to hunt and hopefully have some success doing that. The eastern portion, our eastern portion of region 5 is a lot like region 7.
Yeah.
It's sagebrush and prairie land and with ponderosa mixed in, and it's good pronghorn habitat. The central part of the region is a lot of ag, a lot of pasture, more grassland and sagebrush. But as you well know, pronghorn like hanging out on ag fields.
Oh too. Yeah, they do.
We have plenty of that. So they like ag fields and prairie dog towns for some reason. So I think it's because they can see really good.
Right.
But
yeah, you gotta have your stalking skills pretty good there. Where you're going to hit out there, but that's good to hear. And the antelope season is already underway. Have you had any news as far as how the harvest is going there for region 5?
Yeah, absolutely. So from our 3 check stations, so we have antelope opener check station here in Billings. That kind of grabs a lot of the north stuff and then the east stuff as people come back. And then our check station at Labina, that grabs a lot of that stuff that's coming out of the prairie lands that are south of the Snowies and in through that country. And then we have a check station at Big Timber that kind of, again, grabs that stuff north of Big Timber in and around that country. And Big Timber was a little slower this year. They didn't check quite as many hunters or quite as many animals. Labina, her Sunday was really slow. Ashley's a biologist up there, and Sunday was really slow therefore. But Saturday, she must have had really good numbers Saturday, because she actually checked more than she did last year.
Wow.
Hunters and game. And then here in Billings, we were real kind of similar to last year, to maybe a little bit a few less than we had
Okay.
the previous year. So, but the pheasant hunters were out too, and people were bringing pheasants into the check station too. So
Yeah.
folks were having some upland game bird success as well from those stations.
Yeah. So if you're looking for pronghorn, you got the tags. You should be doing pretty well this year, I would think. So hopefully you plan your hunt well and get out there. I think they're gonna, like you say, they should have it. Let's move on to one that I probably is not a destination for black bear, but you guys do harvest some black bear in there. What was it, 143? I think were harvested in Region 5 last year. What do you see for black bear this year?
Yeah, our black bear numbers, a lot of them, our bear numbers are pretty good. I mean, we have pretty consistent harvest. The bear tooth front is all over under quota. That's bear management unit 520.
Mm-hmm.
Right now we have a small bear management unit 530 on the western part of the region, but it's very similar to 520. And that's all under quota. And we fill that quota out pretty quickly. The Pryor Mountains is another good place to hunt black bears. It's an island mountain range, so there is a quota there. That one typically fills out pretty quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The balance of the region, so crazies, for example, the south side of the Little Belts, the south side of the Snowies, a lot of that country, and we have quite a few bears even along the river corridors and out in cornfields.
Sure.
That's all bear management unit 580. And that one doesn't have a quota, and folks get in there and they harvest black bears. We're kind of right on the edge of the really good black bear habitat in the state. When you compare it to like Region 2 or Region 1,
Right.
where pretty much anywhere you go in those areas,
Yeah.
you're in black bear habitat.
Yeah.
And so, our spots of habitat are good, and we have good bear numbers in the places where we have good habitat.
Mhm.
So
Now, are you seeing, of course, grizzly bears have just expanded all over the place. Are you seeing many grizzlies moving into Region 5 much?
well, we've had grizzlies, downrigger, we've had grizzlies along the Beartooth front for a long, long time.
Okay.
And, we used to have a lot of grizzlies kind of from Red Lodge south down to the Wyoming border, kind of along the end of the Beartooth front. We had a massive fire there, the Robertson Draw fire, a few years back. And we kind of, what we think is going on is those bears are kind of moving around the front and kind of west, and now they're inhabiting more of that, that timberland and foothills along the Beartooth front that's still intact, that didn't get burned. We have a lot of grizzly bears along that front there. And, we measured a lot by how many conflicts we're having, year in and year out. And it just seems like our conflicts over the years have just continued to increase.
Yeah.
And when I say a lot, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe 40's a lot, maybe 50's a lot, but there's a substantial number of grizzlies. And I would encourage folks that are hunting pretty much anywhere in Montana. I think you can run into a grizzly bear about anywhere. Now, antelope hunting in eastern Montana, probably not.
Yeah, you probably
maybe don't need your bear spray there. But, I tell you what, any mountainous area in Montana, I would definitely be bear aware and bear prepared.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
especially here in the region.
I bring that up for that reason. I think some people, they think, oh, well, grizzly bears, that's more Regions 1 and 2, and I won't worry about it, but they are everywhere now. So just be super careful, everyone. And, usually if they hear you, they're gone. You don't even know they were there, but.
Yeah. And that's one thing I'd add there too, downrigger, is like creek bottom corridors, for example, off of mountain ranges. That is where bears are going to go. And when the food resources is good there, like the berries are ripe and stuff in the fall, whether it's choke cherries or service berry or whatever it is ripe in the fall, those bears are going to be down there eating that as they're in that hyperphagia. They're trying to consume as many calories as they can so they can get all fat and sassy and go in the den and hibernate. And so if you're, maybe just hunting whitetails or even birds down in the creek bottom corridor, and I mean, you need to be aware that there could be a grizzly there.
We're going to take one last quick break here, and when we come back, we'll touch on mountain lion, and then kind of get an overall view of what else the region might have to offer for us, and maybe talk a little bit more about the birds, and then get you pointed out to where the right check stations and all that are. So we'll do that right after this. Are you going to get out hunting or to your favorite ice fishing hole this year? Yeah, I know. Finding the time is always the hard part, isn't it? Well, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can help you get the things done that you have to do so you have time to do the things you want to do. How about clearing the driveway or work areas of snow? Yeah, that can be a time sucker for sure. Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has just what you need. A huge selection of Boss snowplows and accessories that'll fit any truck or ATV even. Boss snowplows are flat amazing at removing snow fast. Or how about something that can serve you at both work and on your next adventure outdoors? Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer has awesome Diamond C utility trailers and accessories that can haul work equipment during the week, and then your ATV or snowmobile or other awesome outdoor toys on the weekend. Of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer also has an amazing service department with top technicians and parts pros that are ready to fix or replace whatever you need, from installing a new fifth wheel or gooseneck hitch, or even rewiring the lights on your trailer so they work the way they're supposed to. What about getting some other time-saving accessories for your truck installed? That, my friends, is for sure one of their specialties. And get this, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer can even help with financing. Yeah, they've got you covered. This is going to be a great fall and winter season, my friends, especially if you go see Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer. They're in Missoula at 5680 Expressway. You can call them at 406-549-4243 or check them out online at rmtte.com. That's Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer, rmtte.com. Get a hold of them today and then start planning that hunting trip. We are back here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast. Matt Ladd has been giving us great information about the region. Looks like the region's pretty healthy and doing well. We talked a little bit about black bear hunting and that. Do you get many mountain lion hunters over in Region 5?
We do have mountain lion opportunity here. You know, a lot of what really guides mountain lion hunters or mountain lion hunting success is how much snow we have.
Yeah.
So that really drives harvest, and it really also drives, just effort. If there's no snow on the ground, there's not many mountain lion hunters that are trying to go out and dry track down a mountain lion. So, what our mountain lion unit 502, that's kind of a lot of our private lands and stuff on the northern portion of the region. And it basically goes all the way from the eastern end of the region over to the western end of the region on the north area. That has a quota of like 40, and there's good mountain lion opportunity. A lot of the private ranches and stuff, there's actually lions on out here in the sagebrush and ponderosa pine savanna habitat. We don't get a ton of people that are out trying to find mountain lions and that stuff. And the density of lions is not going to be as high as it is like in Region 2 or Region 1, where they can drive a logging road and maybe cut, 3-4 different sets of tracks. And for our public land lion hunting, we don't have the road systems in this part of the Montana. Like the Beartooth has very few roads, and we don't have like the logging roads and stuff like Region 1 and Region 2 have, where people can drive miles looking for tracks with hounds. So I guess our lion hunting isn't as good maybe, or the conditions or in the landscape maybe isn't as good for lion hunting here, but we do have opportunity. Our stuff along the Beartooth front in the Priors is under quota. And most of the time those quotas do fill out, and like the stuff down the Boulder River, south of Big Timber, guys hunt down there. They hunt down the Stillwater, along the Beartooth front again, and in the Priors. And then of course along the Crazies and in the Snowies a little bit. And people do, they do harvest a fair number of lions every year, but like our lion management unit 502, where we have 40 40 quota there.
Mhm.
It's very seldom that we ever fill that quota out. A lot of times it's kind of in the 20s
Mm.
is where we end up. So that, if you're looking for a place to go lion hunting, all the other areas that you normally hunt are closed.
Yeah.
Generally 502 is open.
All right.
But there again, it might be kind of hard to find a track if there's no.
Right. Yeah. Well, hopefully we're going to get some pretty good snow this year. It's supposed to be a La Nina year, allegedly. So that usually gives us a lot of moisture. So we'll see what happens there. As far as we look at other big game opportunities, anything before we move on to birds and just some general stuff. Any other big game opportunities you would recommend, or have we pretty well got those covered?
Well, we've got most of it covered. I will say, Downrigger, we have moose tags
Mhm.
that folks can apply for. We have mountain goat tags that people can apply for it. And then we have the unlimited sheep opportunity. We have 3 districts with unlimited sheep opportunity. The quota in each one of those districts is 2. So that's a total of 6 there. And then we have a limited sheep opportunity in the priors, and we have 3 tags that go out limited permit there. So I mean, we have a little bit of everything in Region 5. I know I've said that multiple times, but those are some other opportunities if somebody's new to the state, or maybe they're going to be living here or something. Don't overlook and applying for those. The unlimited sheep is a really neat opportunity. It's gotten really popular, and folks are starting to complain. There's a lot of people out there doing it.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, anybody can buy a unlimited sheep tag and go sheep hunting until the quota fills, and then it closes in those 3 districts in the Beartooth.
So you got your sheep tags, and you go for it till it fills, and that can be fun. I mean, Region 5 kind of is one of those regions where you buy about everything, and you got them all in your pocket and just be ready to go. You never know what the hell you're going to come across. So yeah, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, there's many days when I'm out in the field hunting, when I get some time to go, that it's kind of a smorgasbord of what I'm going to hunt that day.
Yeah.
I might start hunting whitetails with the archery equipment, end up hunting antelope in the afternoon and a few pheasants before the night hits, so it's kind of a fun place to be.
It
for sure.
Sure is. Now, speaking of pheasants and that, we touched on it a little bit, but what other upland game bird areas would you recommend if people want to do a little upland game bird hunting?
Yeah. So, like you said, in our ag lands and your typical riparian areas, about anywhere a whitetail habit, is good whitetail river bottom habitat is good pheasant habitat, and then any ag areas, most farmland stuff is really good Hungarian partridge habitat. We do have chucker partridge in the southern portion of the region along the Wyoming border. That Belfry Bridger country, we have some chucker partridge there. The 2 years, so last year and the year before last, we had just incredible partridge numbers and bird numbers in general. Much of the eastern Montana experienced really good upland bird numbers.
Mm-hmm.
This year, it's kind of, I wouldn't say it's back down to average, and we're still having a really good year, but it's not like what it was in those two hot years. But there's really good opportunity for partridge and pheasants, and sharp tails out on the prairie. We do have some sage grouse. Now our sage grouse season, that's a short one. It's just a little bit of basically September, and then it's done.
Right.
Not many people are doing a whole lot of that. We do have mountain grouse here though as well, and that's mountain grouse are kind of a neat. They're a neat opportunity for folks because, people can harvest the mountain grouse with a rifle or a shotgun.
Right. Yeah.
And we have blue grouse and rough grouse. And that's actually one hunt that I kind of recommend for kids, because some of those mountain grouse will just kind of stand there and provide a really good opportunity for a kid with a 22 rimfire, for example. And it's really good, safe hunting, for kids to kind of get involved in and have some success with as well. So, we do have some pretty good blue, or actually they call them dusky grouse. Now I call them blue grouse.
I don't know why they had to change all that.
I don't know either. But anyway, we do have some good blue grouse and rough grouse hunting here.
Let's talk a bit about where your check stations are at and where we can find those, and what are some of the information you'd like to get from hunters out there?
Well, yeah. So we'll have biological check stations, and those are the ones the biologists run. And I'll speak to those since I'm the wildlife, I'm
Mhm.
in the wildlife division here. But we'll have those at Billings, Big Timber, Columbus, and Lavina. So kind of covering the region pretty well. Opening weekend, they're open both days in those locations, and closing weekend, they're open both days. The Columbus station is open both days of the weekends through the whole season. Sean he just runs his check station both days. He just does it. And a lot of that has to do with his data set. He's been doing that for years, and he doesn't want his data set to change. So
Sure.
he just does that. The rest of the check stations outside of, so in the middle weekends between opening weekend and closing weekend, they're just open on Sundays. Okay. Now at Billings and Columbus this year, we will have CWD check stations there on both days of the weekends. And so those are a check station where people can come in and get their deer sampled for CWD, and all the sample can be taken there, and we ship it off for them, and they can just do it on their way home.
Yeah.
And that's at Billings and Columbus this year, and both days of the weekends through the entire hunting season. And then I will also add, and the important piece for CWD is during the work week here. So Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., people can bring their deer, elk. If we're so lucky to get a moose and want to have it tested for CWD, they can bring them into the Billings office here at 2300 Lake Elmo Drive in Billings, right here at our regional office. And we have a CWD crew that'll sample their deer, and we'll get all their samples sent out from here as well. So, and there's other options that people can take their own samples, and we'll ship them off for them.
That was my next
there's a
question.
bunch of options.
Yeah, because there is a pretty good video that you can get on the FWP site that does show you how to take your own sample. But then, the question I've got from people is, okay, fine, if I do that, then what do I do? But you guys can handle it from there if they get the
right. There's some instructions where people can mail it, or if they want to bring it into the office, we'll ship it off for them. We'll get it. We want the samples, and we want to help folks get them tested so they know what they're consuming.
Yeah. Yeah. So be sure and, stop at the check stations, answer the questions. And it's a great place to get information while you're waiting. You talk to other hunters and all that. So be sure and do it. Just be patient. Sometimes it gets a little busy. Now, we talked about access for elk on private land and all that. In general, on private lands, what would you say the challenges are for you guys in getting that? Are you growing your access on private lands, do you think?
I think a little bit, Dale, and I'll tell you why. I think we've increased our elk numbers here so much across the region over the last 20 years that folks trying to work with their neighbors and stuff. So maybe you have a neighbor that's a rancher, and he's got a bunch of hay, like your dad you were talking about.
Yeah.
And these elk are just coming in and chilling in his haystacks or whatever. I think a lot of these neighbors and stuff are starting to allow more, especially like antlerless elk harvest during our late seasons that we have here. And I think that's really improving. And then, you get good hunters out there that are coming out and actually getting some elk harvested and helping those guys out. That goes a long way with the relationships. And I think we're starting to get some, relationships and trust built between landowners and hunters, and having some good success there for folks on both sides of the coin there.
Yeah.
So
And
I think it's improving. I do.
And if you want to brush up on that, that It's Up to Us campaign that the FWP has been doing, that little test that you can take, I took it, didn't take very long, and I didn't get 100%. There's some good things you can learn there that are going to help you get more access, but then helps all of us in the long run if we keep doing that. And I love the whole idea of thank the landowner portal, and that I think that's great. And be sure, all of you listening and watching, be sure you take advantage of that, because that means a lot to landowners when they get to see what was harvested on their land, and lets them know you appreciate what they did for you. So take advantage of it.
One thing I'd mention, Dale, too, sometimes people go to the negative assumption that just because it's private land, they're not going to get to go hunting there, and that's not necessarily true. They just need to go, like I said, ask for permission early, develop that relationship, and, good stewardship, like you're talking about, and taking care of the land and the landowner, not leaving litter out there, and, just not driving on muddy roads, et cetera. All that stuff those are really important details. And I just really encourage hunters to stop and knock and talk and do it, well before they want to go out.
Yeah. You think about it. If somebody said, "Hey, can I hang out in your backyard?" You'd probably want to check them out a little before you did that. Well, no different. But once they know, okay, they just want to enjoy my backyard, and they're going to treat it right. And okay, yeah, they will. So just, give it a try. Don't be and a lot of these landowners have some great stories and have built up great friendships over the years. So, give it a shot. Don't get discouraged. How about challenges for Region 5? What would you say are the main challenges that Region 5's facing out there, Matt?
We talked a little bit about mule deer. That's a big one. I won't, beat that one too much more. The CWD stuff is a challenge. We're making some headway with that, though. We've got a lot of people bringing samples to us now, and we're getting good samples, good sample distribution around most of our hunting districts. So that's important, because if you're not getting samples in a hunting district, you don't know whether you have it or not, what the prevalence is, meaning how much of it is in the population, et cetera. So, I think the department's efforts for getting samples, we got a great crew in our disease pathologists and people in our Bozeman lab that are helping a ton with CWD. And then, every region's got folks, and then we're hiring folks, part-time through the season to take the samples and things like that. And then our hunter participation, like I said, it just keeps going up. And I can't remember the number that we got last year for samples statewide, but it was really, really good.
Yeah.
And we just encourage people to keep up on that trend, and we're happy to help, and we're trying to do the best we can to kind of figure this disease out and manage it the best we can. And unfortunately, CWD is one of those diseases. Once you have it, you have it.
Yeah.
And it never goes away, but it's a matter of just trying to manage the impacts of it. So I would say that's a big one. We don't, Region 5, we have a little bit of, they call it habitat fragmentation, where, more subdivisions are going in critical land, habitat areas. Some of the Western, I would say Region 3, 2, and 1, for example, probably have more of that than
without a doubt.
Long shot. But we do have a little bit of that going on. So I think that's kind of one of our bigger challenges as well. And we talked about access a little bit, access, I think it's improving, and I think that's to the credit of good hunters out there, and good landowners that are developing relationships.
Yeah.
So,
That was my next question, is what do you think some of the biggest successes or the things you're most proud of Region 5 is? Would that be?
Yeah,
I would think.
Yeah. And I think, yeah, some of it is that, in the work we're doing and the work that, hunters are helping us with, and in all sportsmen and women are helping us with, and kids, everybody across the state. We have a great hunters ed program, and, a group of instructors that are, getting kids involved in hunting sports here and keeping them there and keeping them do it safely. I really have to say, and I'm biased. I mean, it's my staff as a wildlife manager, and our regional staff here, I'm really proud of our folks here. They do a lot. And, I think for the public, maybe, a lot of the public really appreciate the work we do, and they realize, that we do a lot of stuff that they don't realize we're doing,
Right.
and I appreciate the public's patience with us and stuff, and we try to get to as much of it as we can. But I would have to say I'm most proud of our staff and the work we do, and just that constant kind of grind of keeping it going.
Lastly, when you get out and hunt, what's your favorite thing to go after in Region 5?
Yeah, I think we talked.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit last year, Dale. I'm an absolute nut when it comes to turkeys. you know? And I can't get enough of turkeys. And I tell you what, when I retire, I'm planning on hunting turkeys in every region in the state. But that's my spring turkey hunting is my favorite. Typically, I don't have a tag come fall, because I've done it in the springtime. But my next passion would probably be whitetail hunting. I archery hunt for whitetails, and I kind of do that from the beginning of archery season all the way to the Sunday after Thanksgiving. Whenever I can get out, I love being in the river bottom corridors hunting whitetails. It's just one of my favorite things.
Anything else before I let you go, Matt? Anything else you want to say before we depart?
Yeah, no, just thanks, Dale, for having us on and doing this statewide. It's great that kind of, you guys' effort to kind of expose what's going on in these regions and try to connect with us and try to get some, a little more detailed information and rich information that's good to pass on to hunters so they kind of have a clue of what we're doing, and then also, kind of what they can expect when they're out in the field.
Yeah, I think it gives a nice little behind the scenes and gets to know, who their wildlife managers are a little bit better and what all that entails. And I get a lot of great emails from people, and we get a lot of great participation in this series we do every year. And it's a lot of fun. You get to learn of that. And one of the things that I think it helps the most with is for people to try out a different region now and then. We all kind of get stuck in a rut, and there's nothing wrong with going out and discovering something new, and Region 5 is great for that, because it's, like you say, it's a little everything out there.
Yeah, that's Dale. It's interesting that you say that. People ask me that, every year, and those are my two favorite things to hunt, but I kind of hunt everything. I used to have a really good lab, and I don't have one at the moment, but I was really avid pheasant hunter too. But that's one thing I try to do every year is go to some new place in Montana and hunt something.
Yeah.
Some place I've never been, and you'll never run out of spots to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't hunt big game as much anymore. I had a really bad car wreck. A drunk lady ran into me, and so I got a little bit more of a hitch in my get along nowadays. So I don't get too crazy about that, but I'm the same way with fishing. I want to fish everywhere. I want to find every single spot, because Montana is a great place to do it. So yeah,
you should do a podcast on our Beartooth Lakes fishing and our fishing places here in Region 5. I mean,
oh yeah,
there again, we're pretty diverse in that too. We've got warm water and cold water. So.
I've spent some time doing that. We will for sure. Of course, I'll be doing a lot of ice fishing stuff too, which is I'll be doing several podcasts about that around. So yeah, we're pretty lucky. A lot of good stuff. Well, Matt, thank you very much for your time and everything. I appreciate all you do for us hunters and fishermen, and we'll see you next year, huh?
Yeah, thanks a lot. Take care, Dale.
All right, see ya. Well, there you have it, folks. There is Region 5. Matt Ladd there giving us some great information. I hope you guys got some good info. If you have any questions, I've got Matt's email. There's a link there that you can ask him questions, or a link to ask me questions, and I'll hunt down the answers. So do that. Plus a lot more stuff coming up. Going to have more really good information, and we'll be getting a hold of Region 7 yet too. So a lot more specials to come. Thanks much. Be good to each other out there. Stay safe, and we will see you next time here on the Montana Outdoor Podcast.
Thanks for watching the Montana Outdoor Podcast. There's no way we could do this podcast without the incredible support of sponsors like Superior Hardwoods of Montana, home of the largest selection of in-stock, high-end wood products and flooring in the western United States. Let them guide you through the woods at superior-hardwoods.com. And of course, Rocky Mountain Truck and Trailer in Missoula, home of Boss Snowplows and Accessories, and Diamond Sea Trailers and Accessories. Go see them on the web at rmtte.com. We'd love to hear what you thought of this week's podcast. When you get a minute or two, shoot us an email and tell us your thoughts. Same goes if you have any questions for Rigger or this week's guest. Just send your questions or comments to downrigger@montanooutdoor.com. Hey, don't forget we should be dropping a new podcast this next Saturday. Until then, gang, we hope to see you soon out in Montana's great outdoors.